Today, we're going to count down the margins in each state in the 2020 election. We'll go from the widest, least competitive states down to the narrowest, nail biters. So we're going to count them down, but for 2 seconds, let's first take a look at the map. So in the popular vote, Biden was at 51.3, Trump was at 46.8. That's a 4.5% national popular vote margin. We'll see how that margin shakes out in each state because both Biden and Trump won half the states. Of course, Biden came out on top with 306 to Trump's 232. But let's get out of the map. The widest margin, including all the districts, number 56 is, of course, Washington, D.C., no surprise. That was an 86.8% margin for Biden. Then it's the widest margin for the Republicans, the reddest place in the country. It's also not a state. It's Nebraska's 3rd congressional district. That was a 53-point win for Trump. Now we'll go down into the 40s. We've got a state this time. It's red. It's Wyoming. It's over 43% for Trump. After that, it's West Virginia, coming in at just under 39%. Then the bluest state out there for Biden, it's Vermont. It's coming in at 35.4. Just under that, we've got Massachusetts. Just under that is a red state. Coming in at number 50 is North Dakota. A tenth of a point under that is Maryland. Another tenth under that is a red state. It's Oklahoma. Just under a 31% margin is Idaho. Now we're down into the 20s. Number 46 is Hawaii at 29.5. Then it's California. A little less than that. We've got more red states. It's Arkansas. Then it's South Dakota, Kentucky, and Alabama. Next, coming in at number 40 is a blue state. It's New York at 23.2. With almost the same percentage as a red state, it's Tennessee. Very similar, we've got Maine's 1st congressional district. That went for Biden by 23.1. With a slightly narrower margin, next up, we've got Rhode Island. Then it's another red state, it's Utah. Continuing the count, we're going to go back to the East Coast and do Connecticut. Now we're going down under the 20% margin. We've got number 34. That's in the Northwest, it's Washington. Barely under that, we've got a red state, it's Nebraska at 19.1. Coming in at an even 19 is Delaware. Slightly narrower than that, we've got Louisiana. Just under that, we're going to plug in Illinois. At 16.6% is Mississippi. 16.4 is Montana. Oregon comes in at 16.1 for Biden. Almost the same percentage coming in for Trump is Indiana. Then in 25th place back on the East Coast, it's New Jersey. After that, the last state over a very safe margin is Missouri, coming in at 15.4 for Trump. Now we're getting slightly more competitive, under 15% at 14.9 is Nebraska's 1st district. Then another Trump state, it's Kansas. Then at 13.5, it's a blue state, Colorado. A couple points less than that, it's South Carolina for Trump. Another point less in the Southwest, it's New Mexico. Then 2 states on opposite sides coming in at 10.1. First, it's Virginia. Then it's a red state, it's Alaska. Now we're down into single digits. We've got 16 to go. At 9.1, we've got Maine at large for Biden. Then at 8.2 for Trump, we've got Iowa. A tick under that for Trump, we've got Ohio. Then we're going to go back up to Maine and plug in the last district, 7.4% for Trump. The same margin we've got going for Biden is another state, it's New Hampshire. Just under that, we've got another one for Biden, it's Minnesota. Now we're counting down the top 10 at 6.5%. It's the last district, it's Nebraska's 2nd. Number 9 is the last state over a 5% margin, it's Texas. It went 5.6 for Trump. Now we've got 8 more states that were actually very competitive. Under 5, actually under 4% margins. Coming in at number 8, it's the classic former swing state. It's Florida at 3.4. Number 7 is a recently minted swing state. We've got Michigan at 2.8 for Biden. Number 6 is out west. It's Nevada at 2.4. Down into the top 5 at just 1.3%. Coming in for Trump is North Carolina. Then the top 4 nail-biters all went for Biden at 1.2%. It's Pennsylvania. Number 3 is Wisconsin at just 0.6%. Number 2 is Arizona at a minuscule 0.3%. And not to be outdone, the most competitive, narrowest margin in 2020 is Georgia at just 0.2%. Not even a 12,000 vote margin there for Biden. And that completes the countdown and the map. So just looking at the winner of each state might be a little bit misleading. Biden clearly won the states where it counted, but the margins, very, very close, could have gone either way. This is the one where Biden flipped the long-standing red states of Arizona and Georgia. He also flipped the former blue wall Rust Belt states back. But his national vote margin was 4.5. But there were 8 states that had a narrower margin than that. And considering 5 of them were under 1.5, this really was an extremely close election where it counted. So whether you live in D.C. or Nebraska's 2nd, all the way on the one end, or in Georgia or Arizona, all the way on the other, this is the full 2020 state-by-state margin countdown in the 2020 election. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about this countdown? How about so many states with narrow margins? How about Alaska just getting over 10%? What are you taking a look at in this data? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.